Hey all, No here. So today I wanted to make a video talking about what my hopes for WOTFI 2025 are. I've got quite high expectations for it based on how much I liked the Guns and Puzzles movie and the Silence of the Cats movie. And these are some of my personal wishes for what they do in WOTFI 2025. So first of all, WOTFI 2025 really needs to be the end of Mr. Puzzle's character arc and his whole storyline that's been going on since Puzzle Vision, but obviously he's been involved in arcs as the main antagonist since 2023 with It's Gotta Be Perfect. So we've essentially had 3 years of every story arc being revolved around Mr. Puzzles, with the slight exception of Silence of the Cats. But even then, Mr. Puzzle shows up at the end as a cliffhanger. There's just been far too much focus on Mr. Puzzles. Loads of people are getting tired of him, and we need to move on. This needs to conclude his story so that we can start something new in 2026. Ideally, a completely new saga with a new villain. That would be really cool, and maybe we can finally get onto what is behind the door. But how do I want them to end Mr. Puzzle's whole story? Well, there's sort of two options here. Either Mr. Puzzles, obviously he sort of redeems himself, he becomes friends with Weapons and Toomp again, and they sort of become a little trio. Perhaps there'll be like side antagonists like Marty who appear every few episodes, or maybe, it's very possible Mr. Puzzles will redeem himself in the eyes of the SMG4 crew, in which case Mr. Puzzles and Mr. Weapons and Toomp would sort of just become, wouldn't be side antagonists, they'd be more like just side characters. That would be very fun. Obviously, that would allow us to continue to have stories with Mr. Puzzles and Mr. Weapons, but obviously without them being the main antagonists of arcs or anything, or even the main protagonists, since obviously Guns and Puzzles, they were the protagonists, they weren't the antagonists. The second option for what they could do is they could kill Mr. Puzzles off. He dies in a heroic sacrifice after completing his character arc and repairing his friendship with Weapons. They could probably write a very compelling story like that. However, I don't want him to die, because 1, I really like him, 2, I like views, and I would very much miss that. But yeah, I think there's still some potential for his character in just normal videos, but there's plenty of ideas you could do with him and Weapons, and so I wouldn't kill him off, but I could see them writing a good story ending with his death. There's actually a third option. They could give him a temporary death where he's killed off for a few months, maybe sort of similar to what happens at the end of WOTFI 2024. He disappears for a while and comes back at the end of the first arc next year or another arc next year to give us some time without him, which is would be quite nice because again he's been the focus for a while now. That would allow them to have the benefits of a heroic sacrifice, but without completely killing him off forever. Maybe one way they could do this is they have him deactivate his TV malfunctions or something, and then a side plot with Weapons and Toomp next year is them trying to repair Mr. Puzzles or something. Moving on, the WOTFI 2025 arc is not really an arc. We had a few build-up episodes to Silence of the Cats, we had a few build-up episodes to Guns and Puzzles, but I've only gotten one teaser episode for WOTFI 2025 essentially, so it's not an arc really, which is what I thought they were going to do. So that means there is a lot of ground to cover in WOTFI 2025 in terms of concluding every plot thread they've sort of set up. Quite frankly, I don't think is possible at all in an adequate way in just a 30-minute WOTFI. So that's why I'm hoping, at the very least, WOTFI 2025 will be 40 minutes, the standard SMG4 movie time, similar to how WOTFI 2023 was 40 minutes. Because obviously WOTFI 2024 was 30 minutes, and I just don't think they can cover everything they need to cover in 30 minutes, including all the usual WOTFI shenanigans. They've got to repair Mr. Puzzle's relationship with Weapons, possibly do the Toomp demonic goop connection, bring in Karen and the kids somehow since they've sort of been setting that up. Death Cube is somehow got to appear as well. So unless they sort of disappoint us and don't cover these plot threads they had seemingly been setting up, they've got to make this either a 40-minute or even 50-minute, or who knows, maybe an hour WOTFI 2025. That would be awesome. That would give them so much time to cover everything that they need to cover. I just really hope that this WOTFI doesn't feel too short. I would not like that, because a problem with Science of the Cats and Guns and Puzzles is I feel like those could have used with like 2 more like episodes in lead up, especially Guns and Puzzles, where I feel like they're letting these like story arcs be too short. So I'm really hoping they give WOTFI 2025 enough time to do the whole story justice. Another thing about WOTFI 2025 is it's definitely not going to have challenges. We're less than 2 weeks away from its release, and there's been no call for us to submit challenge ideas to them, meaning so it's impossible for WOTFI 2025 to be the traditional challenge-based WOTFI, which I'm very happy about, because the problem with challenges in like story WOTFIs is that they completely break the pace of the story, and they completely just mess up the story, because obviously WOTFI 2021 is great, but obviously majority of that video is challenges, which are like disconnected from each other. There's no story narrative being told. We've got the beginning with the setup, then we've just got a bunch of random nonsense, and then we finally get to the rest of the story after the challenges. Like, I remember first time I watched WOTFI 2020, I just skipped, but I watched some of the challenges and I just skipped to the ends, because I wanted to see the actual story. So I'm hoping they are going to go back to the perfect WOTFI 2023 formula. I'm hoping later today we'll get a trailer for WOTFI that announces a live stream on Saturday, where, like WOTFI 2023, we get to choose certain story decisions that are made. Doing that allows them to write a coherent story, which is something I really loved about WOTFI 2023, that actually felt like a movie, not a WOTFI, because the narrative was coherent. But I'd also be fine if they did some new formula that still allows them to tell a more coherent story, that if they do something that's different to WOTFI 2023 but isn't a mess like most other story WOTFIs are, that would be great. So something I'm not sure how they're going to set up is, obviously, we've established that the Death Cube is still chasing after Mr. Puzzles, and so I assumed this would be a plot element in the WOTFI 2025 arc. However, obviously WOTFI 2025 is about to start, and there's no indication that the Death Cube is going to show up. And so I'm hoping that they don't just, they introduced this new character with a new model of Death Cube, and he wasn't exactly, he felt a bit underused in the Guns and Puzzles movie, so I'm hoping like he has some sort of prominent role in WOTFI 2025. It would just feel weird if they didn't give the Death Cube some sort of role, because then it feels like these episodes in the lead up to WOTFI 2024 where he appears were sort of for nothing. Like, why was the Death Cube continuing to reappear if they weren't planning to do anything significant with the Death Cube? I also like the Death Cube. Can he please show up? It would be very funny if in whatever version of challenges they have, the Death Cube appears for some of them. That would be very funny. Now, the big thing of WOTFI 2025 is that they're probably doing time travel. Like, why else does Mr. Puzzles have the YouTube remote? So one thing I hope they do is that they need to give some context as to why Mr. Puzzles suddenly found out about the YouTube remote and wanted to get it. I would also appreciate some context why Mr. Weapons and Toomp are suddenly after Mr. Puzzles. Sure, they, obviously angry against him because of the Guns and Puzzles movie, and Mr. Weapons did try to kill him in the Guns and Puzzles movie. But the episode we got of Weapons and Toomp post Guns and Puzzles didn't really indicate that they were after Mr. Puzzles, so I'm hoping they do something where Mr. Puzzles intentionally sort of led them to him. I'm hoping they do something like that. They explain why they were suddenly after Mr. Puzzles in Soul Search. And with the time travel, I'm hoping this is actually a pretty cool opportunity, because if this is the final Mr. Puzzles story arc, which I'm really hoping it is, it would actually be very fitting to have us time travel to all the previous Mr. Puzzles events. So I'm talking Guns and Puzzles and Science of the Cats, because that's tangentially related, and Mr. Weapons is going to have a big role in this arc. And then we can also get WOTFI 2024, Night at SMG4's, Puzzle Vision, WOTFI 2023, Rest in Spaghetti, and finally it's got to be perfect. I'd really love it if we time travel back in that order. eventually getting to It's Gotta Be Perfect, where the whole Mr. Puzzles story started. That would just be a really cool, like, full circle thing. It'd be a nice bow for the whole Mr. Puzzles stuff. Now, in some episodes in the lead up to WOTFI 2025, we've seen Mr. Puzzles interact with Karen and the kids. So I'm hoping that indicates that Mr. Puzzles might think about time travelling back to Science of the Cats and trying to stop Mr. Weapons from ruining his relationship with his family. That could be cool. We can probably expect Mr. Puzzles to time travel back to Guns and Puzzles first to try and stop himself from betraying Mr. Weapons. Maybe that's how we can bring back the Death Cube if the, like, present Death Cube doesn't show up again. And now everyone knows that for a while now I've been theorising that Toomp is, like, some part of the demonic goop that, like, split apart. Now, since we're time travelling, I really hope that if we go back to the events of It's Gotta Be Perfect, it is there that Toomp is revealed to have come from the demonic goop. And Toomp's origin could actually play a role in helping Mr. Puzzles' character arc. Because if Mr. Puzzles is obviously regretting not just what he did to Weapons, but potentially what he's done since It's Gotta Be Perfect with all of his schemes. But if he sees that Toomp, who has sort of helped both Mr. Weapons and Mr. Puzzles, if he sees that Toomp was created from the events of It's Gotta Be Perfect, from the demonic goop which was unleashed by Mr. Puzzles, then that might convince Mr. Puzzles that the past is worth keeping. That could be a cool character thing they do and make Toomp quite important. I also want them to focus a bit more on the relationship between Toomp and Puzzles, because obviously Toomp first meets Mr. Puzzles, but their relationship doesn't really build very much, so I'd like them to develop that a bit more. And obviously, since we're going back to It's Gotta Be Perfect, it would be really, really awesome if they can explain, if they don't explain what the demonic goop is, if they could explain how Mr. Puzzles at least got the magical keyboard, I would really appreciate that. I would really, really appreciate that, because it doesn't make any sense how he has something so powerful. And obviously, maybe while they're at it, they could also maybe explain how Rest in Spaghetti, how the simulation, like how Mr. Puzzles did that. I've got a pretty good idea of how he did that. He probably just sucked everyone into his TV head, because that's basically the same thing as the simulation, but it'd be nice to get a proper explanation. It would also be cool if, like, when Mr. Puzzles time travels, obviously he interacts with his past self. So it would be very cool to see him interfere with his past self during the 2023 movies, where obviously Mr. Puzzles didn't really appear, like, physically. So it'd be cool to see what exactly he was doing behind the scenes during the 2023 movies. That would be very cool. But yeah, those are some of my hopes for WOTFI 2025. Obviously, I hope it's good. I hope it's not underwhelming. The movies and arcs this year have been really good. They're some of the best. I think the Guns and Puzzles movie is the best movie they ever made. And so I've got faith in the writers. I just really, really hope it's not another, like, Puzzle Vision or WOTFI 2024 with an underwhelming conclusion or an underwhelming just story in general. Anyway, thanks for watching, bye. Oh, and we'll be streaming later today, after this video releases. We'll be streaming our reaction to the WOTFI 2025 trailer, assuming it releases. If it doesn't, then we'll have streamed for nothing. But even if the WOTFI 2025 trailer doesn't drop, we'll then do another stream later, shortly after the first stream, which will be a massive theory stream. We'll be discussing loads of theories and thoughts on WOTFI 2025 and the Mr. Puzzle stuff overall. There'll be tons of people there, hopefully including people like Macroma, Nick Games. Thanks for watching. I'm going now.